Hapeville. And our first order of business is roll call. And I'll just read through our names. I'm Katrina Bradbury. James Newton is not here, and likely will not. There was a family illness that came up this afternoon. He's got to help his mom with. Richard Murray is not here. Alan Holman is not here. Alan Poole.
Yeah.
Greg Reichert.
Here.
Matt Morrison.
Here.
And Tanya Whisper. Here. So that does give us quorum. We have to have 5. So, next order of business is consideration action on a resolution of the Development Authority of the City of Hapeville authorizing inter alia the issuance of its economic development revenue bond for 3 Portia Avenue Project Series 2017. And so, this, we had a meeting previously, and Scott Condra, everyone remembers, made a presentation, and we agreed to a memorandum of understanding for this project. And then now we have the full set of documents. But we have with us Ed Wall, our financial advisor, Earl Taylor, and so that.
And Serena Noel.
And Serena, I'm sorry, Serena just came over there. Serena is with Venture Denmark, for the board. I think you probably haven't met her before. So she's representing that firm for us tonight. So, Ed, do you want to take the lead?
Yes, ma'am.
Earl would like to take the lead, or? I
So,
know you'd like to talk to us.
So I'll talk about it a little bit. Tonight we're here to approve a bond resolution that y'all know you have to issue these phantom bonds in order to do tax abatement under Georgia law. And so you're going to acquire title to this facility so that it's tax exempt. And in exchange, you're going to give some of the taxes as an incentive, free taxes to the developer. And most of you all who've been on here have done this before. And the business deal, the transaction that we worked out with the developer is the new hotel is a true hotel. It's $25 million in value. The 40% value for taxes is $10 million. That number times the 46 mills that represents your millage, the county millage, the school millage, and the hotel district millage of 1 mill is 46.793 mills. The total taxes paid annually, you're given a 90% break to the developer the first year, and then 95%, then 80%, then 75%. So it's a total incentive to the developer in free taxes over 30 years of $6.7 million. The rental payments that you'll receive over that 30-year period totals $9,050,000. If you did nothing, you're only levying 16.61 mills on the raw land right now. The developer says that without this tax abatement incentive, he could not build the hotel because of all the extra money he has to put in the hotel for noise abatement. So we negotiated a hard deal. The developer asked for a whole lot more than that. We negotiated down. I represent to you that it's necessary to get the development, to get that done. It's $6.7 million over 30 years to the developer. You'll receive $9 million over 30 years. With that, I'd like to turn over to Earl to talk about the bond issue.
And if we did not do that, and they did build here, we would get 5.6.
Right, so if he built
If they did build here anyway without the tax abatement.
if he built the $25 million anyway, and you just levied the 16.61 mills, the city would receive $5.6 million over the 30-year period.
Okay.
And with that, Madam Chair, it's I let Earl explain about why you haven't issued bonds. Earl?
Yeah, so in order for us to make this deal work, you need to own the property so it's exempt from ad valorem tax. So I'm not going to get you too far down in the weeds on these bond documents unless y'all have questions and want to go in the weeds. But the developer is going to own the property during construction, so we don't have to comply with Public Works Construction Law, which is a pain to comply with. You will enter into a purchase, sale, financing, and option agreement with the developer, which is Exhibit A of this bond resolution, where you will agree at the end of construction to purchase the property for the developer, or property developer at the end of construction. when you purchase that property from the developer, the developer is gonna buy a bond, a revenue bond from the development authority. And that revenue bond is a drawdown bond. At the end of construction, the amount that will be drawn, to pay purchase price on the property is basically his equity in the property, which is about $12.5 million. Which is money he will advance to you for you to pay purchase price back to him for the property at the end of construction. You will then own the property, you will be exempt from ad valorem tax. You will rent the property back to him under a 30-year rental agreement for rent payments equal to the debt service payments due on that revenue bond of yours that he holds. That revenue bond of yours that he holds just accrues and compounds interest for 30 years. And at the end of 30 years, he's got the ability to get the property back by canceling that revenue bond, giving it to you, and exercising a $100 purchase option to get the property back at the end of 30 years. This revenue bond that you're issuing has another component, which is why we're at $170 million for the principal amount of that revenue bond. The other component of that revenue bond is that he will, at the end of construction, in order to refinance his construction loan, he will come to you to have you issue what this purchase sale financing and option agreement calls for future revenue bonds. You will issue revenue bonds at the end of construction to fund the balance of the purchase price you owe him, which is about equal to the payoff on his construction loan. And those revenue bonds will get refinanced, could get refinanced over the life of the 30 years unless he just does a 30-year, unless he does a long-term revenue bond for the term of your financing. The bond he holds provides the source of money to pay these future revenue bonds that you're going to issue. So it'll just be draws that will be made on your behalf under this $107 million bond that you issue to him. He'll advance to you to pay debt service on these future revenue bonds that you will issue. So at some point down the road, you're going to be issuing revenue bonds to refinance his construction loan so that you can buy the project probably. But this initial revenue bond has the two components, the $12.5 million equity the developer puts in the transaction, plus these additional draws that we made to pay debt service on future bonds you issue to finance or refinance the cost of this project over the next 30 years. And that in a nutshell is the documents. There's also a loan to security agreement, which is the document that governs the revenue bond that you will issue to the developer. And at the end of construction, as opposed to the developer advancing you $12.5 million for you to turn around and pay him the purchase price of the property, the documents allow for him just to swap title to the property, subject to his construction loan in exchange for that deed draw on the revenue bond, $12.5 million.
And there was a bond, don't they have a bond resolution to approve that approves all those documents?
Yes, I've got, it's right here, and, I redated it last night, today's date, but it hadn't changed from the version we sent y'all a week or so ago. And, it's got all the documents attached as it is. So we're ready to approve and take a vote to pass the bond resolution.
Okay. Question? Anybody have any? I have a couple, but I'll let y'all go first. Y'all know I always have questions. My last month. So, you mentioned, it is a 30-year schedule that we have as far as the payment. What happens at the end of the 30 years? So, that exchange happens, the developer gets the hotel back, And then it goes on the tax rolls as, at whatever, I guess Fulton County value they put on it, which who knows what that would be. And then the taxes apply as though this did not happen,
That's correct.
30 years down the road.
At the end of 30 years, if nothing is done, the rental agreement terminates, but you own a hotel. But the developer's not gonna like to kiss his hotel goodbye. So at the end of 30 years, what he'll do, that bond he holds just accrues and compounds interest for 30 years. It'll have a big balance that's due.
Is that how we get the 107?
Yeah, well, the 107 is this $12.5 million equity, plus the worst case amount that could be drawn on this bond to pay debt service, and whatever we think the highest interest rates are gonna go over the next 30 years. This bond is just, the draws on this bond are the source of money to pay debt service on these future bonds you're gonna issue. First, to refinance his construction loan, and then if he does further refinancings down the road, pay debt service on those bonds. That's how you get up to the 107 million. At the end of 30 years, he'll have a bond that is just accruing compounded interest, have a big balance due. He'll have the right to cancel that bond, give it to you, and then exercise a purchase option for $100 to purchase the property back from the development fund. And then the property just goes back on the tax digested, out of the full tax assessor, values the property.
And then the city goes down, back down to what it would have gotten at 16.61 million.
Whatever the city's millage rate.
Well, that's right, you're right, whatever the city's millage rate is at that time, and then at whatever Fulton County value they put on it, which who knows what that would be, then we go back down to that level of taxes.
Correct.
Okay. Legal fees. You know, Ed, I mentioned that to
Yes,
you
sir.
today when we talked.
So we set what they were in the memorandum of understanding, and,
Well, my concern was that the city nor the development authority would be responsible for any of those fees,
Unlike the last deal, that is the case in this deal.
unlike the last.
Unlike the last deal, the developers pay all.
Your fee, or who, Serena, or whoever gets paid.
Right.
You know, that was a big point for me from the beginning, so, that's why I wanted to be sure. I know that's in the MOU.
It's also in the document.
Okay, well,
The developer is responsible to pay all.
is it
all
in
of
this one? I wanna see, not that I distrust you, but I
Yeah.
just wanna see
It's
it.
in the rental agreement. There's,
403.
yeah, 403B administrative rent, that obligates the developer to pay all of your costs, including legal fees associated with this transaction, over the life of the transaction.
So where is, under administrative rent,
Yeah,
page 15?
Page 15. Page 15. There's also, let's see. Yeah, that is in administrative rent.
Okay. Anybody else have questions, comments?
I have a question. So do we, if I understand this correctly, there might be additional revenue bonds issued over the course of 30 years?
Can you speak up so we can hear you?
Sure, along with the cost of the revenue bonds, if additional are issued, it sounds like the legal fees are taken care of. What about the cost to issue those bonds?
The cost to issue the revenue, bonds over the life of the deal will be borne by the developer. The real agreement's obligation to do that. And I think there's language, self-financing option agreement. Which does not have a table of contents, I don't believe. But it's, there's Article 2 on financing, Section 2.3,
Section 2.3?
yeah, Section 2.3 on page 8 obligates the developer to pay all of the costs associated with those future revenue bonds over the life of the deal.
2.3.
2.3.
It's page 11? Is that what we-
Page 8, 2.3 is a purchase self-financing option.
Oh, I'm sorry, I have the wrong. Just it's an option agreement, is that what we're talking about?
So you charge your issuing fee on this additional bond, you agree not to charge your issuing fee on these future bonds, but you have agreed to pay, the developers agreed to pay all the legal fees, the financial advisor's fees, and the other costs of issuing those future bonds.
Can you say that again? I'm not sure if I understood.
Yeah, there is an authority or issuer's fee that will be paid to the authority for this additional bond that's issued to the developer. And once the developer pays that fee to the authority, that takes care of all the authority's fees associated with all bonds issued by the authority for this project. However,
For the life of the project.
for life of the project, the developer is obligated to pay all of your costs, legal fees, financial advisory fees associated with issuing those bonds in the future. And that's 2.3 of the purchase self-financing option agreement.
Are you sure it's 2.3?
Yeah, yeah, page 8,
Fees and expenses.
fees and expenses.
I think it's in this document, he's talking about
It's not
purchase,
the
sell,
whole agreement.
finance, not this one.
So,
Okay.
yeah, purchase
This one.
self-financing option
Okay.
agreement.
Page
Here we go.
8,
Page 8.
okay, 8 and 9. I know I read through these, but then it's hard to go back and find exactly what you're looking for. So, so right there. Does that answer your question?
Just over that paragraph.
And then, I know, I think they do these documents to do them by the pound, and then what you'll do, Earl,
by the tree.
So thank you
Yeah.
for the interpretation of that paragraph.
It's like the more it weighs, the better, the more words we have, so. Okay. Anybody else?
These are skinny down.
These are what?
These are, I gave you the skinny down version.
Oh, I'm sure. I saw the,
This was a special one.
no, I think it ends up to be a book about like that, and when we get through, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jennifer, I have a question, because I do see that we have someone in the audience with their hand up. We have public comment placed here, so what are our options?
If you want to take up to the chairman, if you want the meeting, you can certainly have a couple of comments, or you can amend the agenda to make the time of reading. Also, discussion.
Anybody have any thoughts on that? Because I do recognize that someone has their hand up there. I don't want to just ignore and not act like I didn't see that.
Probably amended to give his comments in.
I can't hear you.
Make the
Okay.
amendment.
All right, then, I would need someone to make a motion to that. Three. Okay, is there a second on that? Is there any discussion among the board about that? And we'll call for a vote, all in favor? Okay, all right, can't see that one. All right, Brendan, would you first state your name and,
Oh, hey, I'm Brendan Dalton, and I live at 3429 Rainy Avenue. Hey, everybody. The first thing I wanted to address today, maybe with Earl, is whether we can possibly, with this assembled group, approve this action this evening. What we have is 4 people plus the chairman. What I think we have to have under the Georgia Revenue, or under the Georgia Authorities Act, is we have to have an affirmative vote of a majority of the members of the board. And mathematically, this evening here, I don't think we can get there, because if we have a 2-2 vote and the chairman breaks it, we got 3-2. If we have 4-0, then we don't have a majority of the board, which has 8 members. So,
Well, you have, the quorum is the majority of the board, as long as we have.
no, you have to have the affirmative vote of a majority of the board, not the
You're
affirmative
correct.
vote of the quorum. Do you see what I'm saying?
That's what I said.
Of the majority of the quorum.
We got a quorum. As
Right, but
long
you
as
don't have a
I've got
majority.
as
We
let's
don't,
let Earl finish explaining.
As long
I think
as there's
you're-
a
I think he's
major-
going where you are, he just
Is,
needs to.
you're correct, as long, under the Development Authorities law, as long as a majority of the entire board votes in favor of the bond resolution, it passes.
okay.
It takes a majority of the entire board.
Right, okay, so, and we don't have that possibility mathematically here this evening, because we only have 4 people to, if it passes unanimously, it's 4-0, because the chairman does not vote.
No, under the Development Authorities law, the chairman.
The chairman votes.
Okay, the chairman
does
votes
vote.
then. Okay, so if it's 5-0, the chairman, okay, so I was mistaken, thank you very much. Okay, so that's not the case. I'm glad we've settled that, and we'll move on to the next thing. This action is a tax abatement. That's all it is. That's all you have to offer these developers. That's the only way the Development Authority of the City of Hapeville will be in this deal whatsoever. Why it's needed, I don't know. I don't believe, you guys have had the materials for a week. I haven't had the materials at all. So this called meeting was called, I'm not sure, maybe 2 or 3 days ago, and the agenda for the meeting didn't go up until about 24 hours ago. There's none of the papers that you guys have been privy to. The public hasn't been privy to them. You guys know what happened last time. I don't think there's anything wrong with giving this thing a couple of weeks. Give me time to make some open records requests, to get the documents and review them to see what's in them. Because, you know, if I have to wait until this thing gets filed to go to the court and to look at them, obviously I've already got my back up on this thing. I believe it's nothing but a tax abatement, which isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world. But let's talk about what the tax abatement is being compared to. Mr. Wall stated to me that the valuation is something that they haven't used any assessor-based figures. They've used a figure of how much money they're going to spend and how much equity they're going to have at the end. The fact is that no one knows what the real estate market is going to be in 2 years when this project is done. And so no one knows what the assessed value would be. And therefore, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, the tax abatement may not be $6 million, it may be 12, 15, $20 million. Because over the life of this bond, over the life of this lease, is going to be 30 years. The hotel may be worth twice what they're saying that it's valued. You have a set of figures there. Do you know where they come from? So basically, what I'd like to see have happen is I'd like to have one person vote against it so that you can think about it some more. Obviously, you guys can always vote to do it again. If we look at all the paperwork and we see and we think this is great, great. But if we don't even know what number we're comparing the tax savings to, what number we know what the structure of this bond does. One thing it does is and I believe it's Earl. Is it a pilot bond? Is it a bond?
It's not a pilot.
Well, we're saying
it's a usufruct.
Okay, so it's a usufruct, and there's no telling where that would go with another judge. But what we've got here is a total exemption from taxes, and then instead of paying taxes to the school board, instead of paying taxes to the county, and instead of paying taxes to the governing authority of the city, it's paid to the development authority. Why is that good or bad? Well, I don't know. Why does the development authority need a stream of revenue? I don't know. Nobody's told me. So I'd be interested in hearing what the stream of revenue, why we're taking this out of the general fund that pays for policemen, why we're taking this out of the fund that runs all the general obligations of the governing authority of the city of Hapeville, and we're putting it over here into the development authority, and we're cutting out the city, the county, and the school board. Why are we doing that? What is the development authority going to use that revenue for? That would be, maybe it's something great. Maybe it's something unbelievable, but let's have it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Well, I don't mind addressing that question. Because the previous, we haven't done our intergovernmental agreements yet, but the previous development that we did similar to this, the Development Authority has an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Hapeville, and the funds, all 100% are going over to the city.
That agreement's not in place, so we're not sure what the agreements say. We've asked for those agreements and we haven't received them. So
The agreement does exist.
but it's not. You just said it hasn't been executed. So
Can I say something?
Not for this one. No, not for this one. We have not
Right,
yet.
right.
We have not yet. Yes, we have not done that yet.
what I saw from the intergovernmental agreement that I saw in the last bond, in the Solis bond, was that the money was going to pay another bond of the Development Authority that was taken out, I guess, in 2004, which is a real estate bond. So it goes to cover debt that you've already taken in, and it doesn't go and it doesn't go through the general fund first. It allows the Development Authority to pay off its debts without ever acknowledging that it has created a drag on the city government.
Well, we do have an obligation to pay our bond payments.
Right. And if you
From
didn't pay
whatever
them,
revenue
if you didn't pay them, it would go into.
have.
If you didn't pay
If
them,
we didn't, then the city has
you,
to pay them.
right, exactly. And that's why I'm saying is that if you're giving away future dollars for present dollars so that it's not embarrassing. There's a bunch of debt in the Development Authority that can't be paid otherwise, is what I'm saying.
Because of properties that were purchased years ago.
Right. This is again, right, that's what I'm saying though, is that it is debt that you've accrued by doing the activities that you've already been doing, and now you're taking money away from the general fund to put it into this, basically the scheme that went wrong, the property that you bought. So that's, I mean, that's just a fact. I mean, it's not.
It's not a scheme that went wrong, but I don't want to.
I mean, it's an investment that went bad.
Made when the market was completely different.
It's an investment that went bad, and there's a bunch of investments that have gone, like for instance, the service station. How much is the environmental abatement on the service station?
That property was not purchased with any bond money.
Right, I agree, but it is gonna require a stream of revenue to actually abate that property that was bought, and you know, once you own it, you're responsible for ecological, you know, and environmental abatement under federal law, so I know that's one thing that's out there. So, you know, there's just a lot of things that need revenue that the Development Authority has already been a part of, and that's great. If we need to do it, we need to do it. But let's get it all out on the table, and let's talk about it beforehand, instead of having it, why would we have such a huge bond that is being considered on a called meeting? It doesn't make that much sense. Why would there not be any documents available on the city website that give all the documents that you guys have, all the documents that Earl's holding in his hand? I'm going to get them before they go to court on this. It all has to go to court. Not because I say it goes to court, but under the Georgia Revenue Bond Law, it has to be validated by a superior court. So, you know, all these papers, there's no way to hide them. There's no reason for the citizens not to have them and to be able to look at them so that we can all consider it together.
Okay, thank you. George?
George Rogan, 210 Woodland Drive. I agree with what Brendan is saying. The last time we didn't have any of this, and when we saw the paperwork and we realized that we citizens would be stuck for 55% of the attorney's fees should Fulton County come asking, we had to go to court. And we challenged it on that issue, also the issue of the principal and interest and the intergovernmental agreement. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but the intergovernmental agreement in the last bond is not validated. The judge did not validate that. I don't know what that means for you guys, but there's a hole in that bond box. What the judge in the paperwork says is that, and it's not going to be me, but any citizen forever of Hapeville can challenge in court that intergovernmental agreement. Are you aware of that?
Yeah.
Are they aware of that? Are you not aware of
I have
that?
not asked that question, no.
Ooh. I think you'd better become aware of that, and you'd better become concerned. But going back to what Brendan said, all of this should be out there for all of us to see it before I have to stick my neck out again and go to court and then be sued by Fincher in Denmark on your behalf when you didn't even know you were being sued. Thank you.
Paul Foster, 3404 Rainy Ave, relatively new citizen in the city, year and a half, year and a quarter. Would like to add a third voice as a concerned citizen, maybe not as privy to the history of the city. Still relatively new, but able to look at issues in the past and investments in the past, and understanding that things didn't go the way maybe the board or the city expected them to, but also hoping that, as Brendan mentioned, tonight we don't rush through something when doesn't necessarily seem to be a need to, and documents could be provided to citizens who are concerned and don't necessarily want to do something quickly now to make up for the